talking about stuff that is not relevant.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
Alex stole it as well.
I'm not a camel.
All rise. Court is now in session.
Is that correct?
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
very important to us. Please remain on the line, and the next available agent will answer.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
Especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy, do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
The wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
Well, that's the bitch you have to deal with.
By gosh, go down and fight them. By gosh, make them work for it. In front of the Walmart, you especially won't go to court if it's bullshit charges because you get them thrown out.
I was kicked back, taking it easy.
Alrighty, welcome back from lunch. Welcome back. Sorry, we had a little bit of hold music there. I was actually changing back into my gray shirt. I changed out of this shirt to go work on the drywall in the Airbnb. Got a lot of the ceiling up. We're almost done with the ceiling in the big room. Almost done. 2 bedrooms are done. Almost done with the ceiling. Have a little bit left in the kitchen, and then we just have the bathroom and the laundry room, and and then everything else. So just a few more weeks worth of work, and we'll be there. Welcome. It's good to have you back here with us. I will say, as soon as the music is done, I want to swap over to the instant replay because I forget who it was. I wish I could remember who said it in the chat, but somebody said in the chat something about the last witness on the stand. Correct? As she was leaving, can we go back and watch it in slow motion? And I thought, yes, we can, and we will. We're going to go back and watch in slow motion because there may have been some
taking it easy.
eye contact, and there may have been a gesture. There may. I'm gonna let you guys be the judge of this. We're gonna go back. We're gonna play it slow motion. We're gonna go frame by frame if we need to. You guys be the judge to see exactly what happened. But give me just a minute. I need to unplug. Well, I need to take this out and plug this in, which I'm trying to do blind. I have no idea. Is that? If you tried to ever plug in a USB-C cable, nailed it. First try without looking, one-handed. Behind my back almost. Pretty good. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to do a quick little cut right over to right here. This seems familiar. That's because it happened last night. We watched it this morning. This is the very end of this witness's testimony. We're going to, if we play it normally, she's like, hey, you're excused. That's all great. Excused. Yeah, you can stand up and leave. We're going to watch this.
Thank you, ma'am. You may be excused.
Yeah, you may be excused. That's all good. She gets up.
And the state may call its next witness.
The state's going to call the next witness. They're calling John. John's on the stand right now.
John Turney.
Yep, John. There she goes. They're past the attorneys, past the other table, and she walks out. But wait. Stop. Did you see what I saw? First of all, I'll tell you what I saw. I forgot to tell you that I saw that somebody was first in chat. And I know who it is. I know who it is because it's right there. KR, you were first in chat. You are the grand winner of all things internet related, including the replay machine. So if it goes down because it does operate over the internet features, over the internet, basically, or using IP, it's your fault, basically, and you'll have to fix it. So KR, thank you for being first in chat. I think this is the first time offense for you. So just a warning. This time, I guess it does not go on your permanent record, but thank you very much. We're going to back up just a little bit because we can do that. Let's back things up a little bit to about right here. Okay, here's what I noticed first. Ready? When she stands up, and I forget this name for sure, but when she stands up, watch what she has. She has 3 items she's going to take with her, okay? Item number 1, that's her phone. Item number 2, a little pursey type thing, okay? Item number 3, that's her cup. Now, left hand cup, purse and phone, right hand. That's nice. It's a nice and balanced. 2 in one hand, 1 in the other. Now she goes down the corner. What does she do? She's moving the cup to her left hand. So she now has three things in her left hand. She has her phone, her purse, and the cup, which leaves her right hand conveniently free. Conveniently free to do whatever is needed along here. We've got almost a little smirk here. She knows what's coming up. As she turns, rounds the corner, makes eye contact. And whoa, up comes the hand. Up comes the hand. Boom. To what? And then drops down, not all the way, but just to the waist level, right? And then back down as she walks. Now let's walk it back frame by frame just a little bit. It could be just an itch, okay? It could be just an itch, but we're sort of obscured, so we're watching frame by frame. Up, 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 up. The hand looks all together. All the fingers are together, almost as if you're reaching together. And then some fingers go down, and one may be staying up. One may be staying up right here. You be the judge. Was this a very subtle, a partial? We have separation, says Adam. We have separation. And down the hand goes, but not all the way. And then the look. It's definitely the look. Was it to the lawyer? Was it to the defendant? Who was the beneficiary of this nose scratch / bird? That's what I want to know. Who was the beneficiary? We'll watch it in real time one more time just to
John Turney.
To get our bearings here. And boom, there it is. That quick. It was fast. It was fast. She was
Sure,
good.
If you'll please come forward
that's
and
all I'll
approach
say.
the clerk.
She was good.
From you and
yeah, all three of them. What was? Should we do a vote? A quick little vote on this one? It's going to be pretty simple, and actually it goes with the theme today that we've had in our house. So we're just going to say bird or no bird. That's the question, and I'm not referring to the feathered kind. Okay, let's, trying to get the questions right. Here we go. We're going to ask the community, you guys be the judge, if we have a bird or no bird in this. So the options are I saw finger or scratch that, just an itch. This is, it's childish in my opinion. It is a little bit, but oh my goodness. Can you imagine the frustration as a witness? There are things you want to say. There are things that you feel are very important to this case, things that mean a lot to you. And as a witness, you don't get to really decide what you get to tell the court. A lot of what you get to tell the court is decided on the attorneys that ask the questions and what answers they elicit from you. And when that question and answer scenario, my best poll ever, says Red Pen. We're at the peak right here, guys. This is as good as it gets. Starling or finger? Yes, there's the other poll. Yeah, but when it gets very hostile, when there's an edge to it, when there's an accusation, when there's a head-to-head combat type thing, verbally speaking, there's some frustration there. And was this definitely was charity a little less than charitable in this moment? Is what we're asking. All right, these cases get wilder and wilder, says Angelina Knox. They do. They're so crazy, and every single case seems to have moments like this. It is bizarre. It's really crazy. Speaking of which, we need to get back to court, which is going to start here in about 10 minutes. So we're gonna be picking up the case as it's developing. Let's see. Is this the one? I think so. We need a bird emoji, like a flipping the bird emoji. I'm wondering if that demonetized me if we talk about flipping the bird too soon after we start the live stream. I think within the first 5 minutes. That's why we did the music first. First 5 minutes were music and a little bit of hello before we got into the flipping the bird moment. Alyssa told Charity there was a camera in her bedroom. That's part of what they wanted to say. Ween Baby says, I didn't see anything. Was it intended towards counsel or defendant or both, do you think? It seemed like initially she was looking at counsel. And then as she walked away, she was doing more the farther glance up, higher on the horizon towards the defendant. So I think it was toward counsel, which is, I mean, it doesn't make it any better. But let's see. What happened with Sarah Boone? I was away all morning. Cindy's crazy. Here's what happened. Sarah Boone was scheduled to be in court today. for a hearing. She waived her appearance, either through her lawyer. I'm not sure if she's going to say, I never waived anything. She said that before. But her lawyer waived her appearance. The lawyer showed up via Zoom, and they basically said, we've had trouble getting this expert witness lined up, and they want more money or they won't give us the report. So I'm not sure where that stands, if they're going to get the extra money to pay for it, but that's an issue. Also at issue is the fact that that they're basically not ready, but the judge wants them to be ready. So he says, look, we've got a week. In the next week, we need to have another hearing. You guys sort it out amongst yourselves, counsel, between yourselves and my calendar. Be available. And they're probably going to have a hearing, another pretrial hearing on Friday the 21st, which is the day before work days. You know, it's the weekend, but work days before court's supposed to start, before jury selection begins in Sarah Boone's case, which is on the 24th, on Monday. So that is like the last minute moment to make a decision, and I would hate to see it continue at that point. The judge clearly has indicated by saying, look, figure this out. They have not moved the court date. The hearing is still scheduled. If you look on the records, it's still scheduled right now for the 24th as a trial, for the trial to begin. But they're trying to fix everything by then and just have all their ducks in a row. Big thing that came out that I predicted. I tell you, I predicted. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I will, and I'll break my arm doing it. But she wrote another letter. We knew that she likes these anniversaries, these month anniversaries as they come around, just like you do when your courthouse changes color. You get the opportunity to have a free message to the world. And Sarah Boone has capitalized on this, and she does it by becoming pen pals with the judge. And she has sent multiple letters to the judge, 5 now. And the judge informed us that there is indeed a 6th letter. So we are waiting with bated breath for the 6th letter to drop. We have our document hounds searching for it. I'm also searching for it. Any moment now, it could be posted. It could be a couple days from now, honestly. It just depends how far backed up the court is in filing everything. So we're watching the records for that, and as soon as that comes down, we're going to share that live as well. So be on the lookout. And as we do this is all just part of our build up to the Sarah Boone case, because this is going to be huge. This is, I mean, the only bigger case I have to look forward to this year is Brian Koberger. As far as just the public interest in a case, Sarah Boone is right up there, even though it's going to be a much, much shorter case than BK. It's going to be much shorter. It's got a lot of people's attention. And so we want to talk about that a little bit. We're going to go over the letters. And I'm talking about next week, as long as everything seems to be lining up right. Next week, each morning, instead of following court, because I will be away, I'll be live streaming with my live view, and we'll be going over Sarah Boone stuff. So we might be going over the interviews, we might be going over the police camera, body cam footage from the arrest, or I wouldn't say the arrest, for their responding to the apartment that morning. Anyway, so those are the things we're going to do as we lead up to Sarah Boone, because that's just going to be a lot of fun, and we can get to relive some of those great moments and have it all fresh in our memory as we go into that trial. So that's what happened with Sarah Boone. Thanks for the question, Cindy's Crazy. As it goes with court, we're actually waiting. We've got about 5 minutes before we expect anything to happen in the courtroom. So we'll hold tight there. That's what's going on with Sarah Boone, Dodie. I saw somebody say there was a continuance. I did not see that. I did not see a continuance at all. I saw that there was a request for the parties to schedule a status hearing with the judge in that week, hopefully, presumably on Friday the 21st. But the actual hearing date has not moved to our knowledge. Oh my goodness. James and Cynthia. James and Cynthia, where are you at? I'm looking at my piling system for James and Cynthia to see where we're at with them. Let's see, we went to the July 5th. Where are they at? Are they at, who's July 12th? July 12th at 10 a.m. is somebody refresh my memory. I think I have the wrong paper right here. Where are James's the 21st status hearing, the 21st for James and Cynthia? Okay, so that's also going to be in there. Thank you for posting the link to this morning's Sarah Boone hearing. If you want to watch that, that's over on a different channel. But we made friends this morning with another channel and sent you guys over there, and that was fantastic. It was wonderful for them to provide that for us. It was something that I couldn't do or wasn't comfortable doing this morning with where we're at. Let's see. Amanda Hinkerman says, woohoo, made it another month. Thank you, RA and mods, for this amazing channel. Amanda, thank you for this amazing channel. It would not be the same without you. I appreciate you being here. And congratulations on 2 months in that new color of courthouse. All right, August 2nd, August 11th, August 2nd, yes, 21st of August. Status is for Sarah Boone. So I'm confused. Do we know, which one are we talking about? Sarah Boone or James and Cynthia? We need it all in the same text here. You're sitting in front of 3 devices with calendar apps. Lee, I know this, but if I touch this one, things stop working that need to be working. And if I touch this one, it makes a mess on the screen, like, you know, something like this. Just it goes bizarre. So I have to be sort of careful with what I'm doing. Christy, member for 5 months. Just 1 month short of the Yellow Courthouse. You are so close, Christy. Thank you so much for your support. Love the little Batman pooch in your profile picture as well. Thank you for being here. The bird's the word. We need to close the vote. We need to close the poll. Hang on 1 second. If you haven't voted, you're about to lose the opportunity. It's one of those speak now or forever hold your peace moments. And I'm ending the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Here we go. Poll's closed. We have, let's see, bird or no bird. I saw finger. 80% came in with the yes. Scratch that just an itch, just 19%. The 1% gets lost somewhere in YouTube. Out of 179 votes, that's where we are. So the vast majority of us, not quite enough to convict, but the vast majority of us think that there may have been a little bit of a flippant type exchange there. You've been pinned in the comments section on alternate jurors, FYI. That is awesome. That is great. I really appreciate them putting that up. Yeah, that worked great, and I really appreciate you guys all going over there and supporting them. One thing that is, I think I've been consistent with on this channel, and I will continue to do, is when somebody is doing something awesome on YouTube, I want to call them out. I want to help them a little bit, and especially when it aligns so closely with what we're doing. So that was just a natural fit to send you guys over there instead of trying to replicate what they were doing. But okay, July 21st is Sarah Boone. Okay, that is the presumed status hearing, but on August 2nd with the Honorable Cedric, that's going to be James and Cynthia. So that's Sarah Boone probably should be done by then. I mean, maybe. It depends how this expert witness goes down. But good. Okay, we have. Can you replay the bird video? I can. Just 1 second. Let's take it right here.
It appears that there are none. May the witness be excused.
This is the last moments.
Any objection? Thank you, ma'am. You may be excused.
This is Charity. She picks up. Notice she's got 3 things.
And the
2 in one hand, one
calls
another,
next
and then she intentionally keeps one hand free.
John Turney.
Okay, now this is where we're going to watch it slow motion. Ready? Swing back. Hand comes up. So the hand was swinging back. So here it swings back. We'll sort of time it here. Back. Let's watch it in real time first.
We'll call
back,
John Turney.
Forward, back, scratch, back. Yeah, so it sort of breaks with the timing.
Sir, if you please.
What more do you need to see? Slow motion right here. As she's walking in front of the attorney, the hand comes up. And the white in the background helps. All the fingers are up here. The thumb and everything, I think, is extended. It's a flat hand. And then some fingers go down, and there's a little separation right here. As the hand begins to curl and the middle finger seems to stay up. So it looks like it started as a scratch and ended less so. It ended less so. I don't know. That's your call. You tell me what you think. It definitely has the first finger down, the second finger up, at least at one point. And then there's the look. She's looking directly at counsel, and then she looks over to the left at the defendant. So I think it was, and then she catches our eye here, saying, "Did he see what I just did? Did you see?" Anyway, that's where we are with that one.
Your Honor, we just wanted to talk about a couple of brief
we're
things
back.
before the jury comes
This
out
is live.
here. The state let us know last night that they're going to be calling a couple of witnesses today that we weren't expecting, and so we weren't able to file motions in limine in advance. So we like to discuss a couple of things on the record to make sure we're on the same page. In the state, we spoke with Mr. Bailey. He's on the same page, but I just want to make sure that the record is clear.
Okay.
So I don't know how you want me to do that for.
Let's not do it now,
Okay.
but I appreciate you letting me know, and I'll find a time soon for us to do that.
And then I think we might want to do either break for lunch early or come back early because there's another witness who the state is intending to call in defense's position is that he may need an attorney appointed.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
All right,
this is gonna
we'll
get
break
juicy.
for lunch a couple minutes early.
This is
And
gonna
then
get
one
really
more
juicy.
thing, Your Honor.
This is all live.
Mr. Turney has indicated that he has he has a medical condition. He has a vein issue in his leg. This is the first day of trial that they've put on ankle, a knee restraint. He's having a really difficult time sitting. He still has the belt on, but it's very uncomfortable for him. He doesn't think that he can get up for the jury. Is there anything that we can do about removing?
They're asking to remove restraints.
The ankle restraint. Or
Is
the
it is it only a problem when he stands up?
No, it'll be an issue. His leg will swell because the blood flow, it's cutting off circulation to his legs.
Okay. So we'll take that up before lunch as well. In the meantime, when the jury comes in, he doesn't have to stand up. All right. Anything else before we bring the jury in?
I think they wanted the restraints
Yes,
off
sir.
entirely.
I thought you did this in the jury instructions preliminary, but maybe I'm wrong. But it's the appropriate time. Could you please advise the jurors of a victim's right to decline an interview?
There is a final jury instruction that exists in the Raji's, so I didn't do it in the preliminaries. It's not a standard preliminary, but it is a standard final. And so I was planning on talking to you about final jury instructions within a couple of days anyways, so you'll let me know that that's going to be a state's requested.
Yes.
Anything else? All right, then let's get Mr. Turney back on the witness stand, and Angela, you can bring the jury in.
Guys, this is awesome. This warms the deepest parts of my heart. When did he change shirts over lunch? I mean, I did. I was just wondering if anyone else did. 348 subscribers. That is just awesome.
Because I grabbed a bunch.
Got him a couple hundred subscribers over there. She's either flipping the bird or blowing a kiss. Either one can be disrespectful, depending on how you do it. Yeah, I'm surprised actually they don't have alternate resources for the defendant to make sure he's comfortable as well as the safety concerns are met. He's in a wheelchair. This is not we're not going to see the latest and greatest break and run for it moment. He's 75 years old. The concerns that you have with his with him physically are different than a young spry defendant who can leap over tables in a single bound. This won't be him today. It warms your cockles. Yes, it sure does. White shirt to black shirt. Maybe it was hot. Maybe he was like, hey, I'm just switching it out. Oh, it is a different day. Sorry. For us, it was the same day. For him, it was yesterday. So, yes, we do expect that he changed shirts overnight. That's what most people do. They have changeable suits of apparel. And they do not wear the same one, except for the judge wearing his robe, of course, day after day. So we are now live. This morning was delayed. We're going to continue this same sort of layout for our schedule. What is the name of the channel for Sarah Boone's trial? Debbie, if we can have somebody, one of the mods posted again. I think Samantha had it just a minute ago, or Weather Watch or someone.
Please be seated.
That would be cool.
We are back on the record in State versus Turney. Let the record show the presence of counsel, the defendant, and the jury. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see you back this morning. Thank you so much for making it back on time. I really appreciate that.
They say morning, but it's our afternoon.
Let the record show that witness John Turney is back on the witness stand. Sir, I'll remind you that you are still under oath. And Mr. Bailey, you may resume your direct examination of the witness whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Judge. We left off talking about one of the areas we left off talking about was where you were living at various points. And we spoke about Alyssa coming to live with you for a short period of time, approximately 2 weeks, I think is what you said. Do you know why she came to live with you?
Just from what I know, was just there was some turmoil in the house, and I believe they needed a break from each other.
All right. And when you say they, are you referring to the defendant, your stepfather, and Alyssa, Turney?
Correct.
No physical evidence. That's my prediction.
Now, do you remember where you were living when you found out Alyssa had disappeared?
I'm sorry, I don't.
How did you find out that Alyssa had disappeared?
Probably just the same way everyone else did. The letter and I think they tried to look at some videos or whatnot.
Maybe that's a poor question on my part. Did the defendant tell you or call you that Alyssa had disappeared?
Yes.
All right. And was that how you initially found out that she was missing?
Correct.
All right. Once you found that out, what did you do personally?
I don't know that there was a whole lot I could have done. I wouldn't know where she would have gone.
Did you, for instance, go over to the house that they were living at?
Yes.
That was the 17217 address?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you have a recollection of what you did when you arrived at their house?
I don't.
Do you recall looking into her room?
I don't remember if I went into a room or not. I know I was asked to, get a hold of the friends that I knew to see if they maybe knew where she was.
Okay. And when you said you were asked to, was that by the defendant?
Correct.
Now, without saying anything you were told, did you ask Sarah about what happened or for information?
I don't remember conversations much with Sarah about it.
Did you speak to Sarah at all at the house or see her?
I'm sure I did, but I don't remember a conversation or anything.
Okay. So because you showed up at that 17217 address, you said you don't remember exactly where you were living, but were you living locally?
I was living in Phoenix, yes.
Okay. Do you recall prior to that day when the last time you had spoken to Alyssa or seen Alyssa?
I don't remember an actual day. I'm sure within a couple of weeks of that time.
Can you described your relationship a little bit with Alyssa. Had your relationship with Alyssa changed in the weeks and months leading up to when she disappeared?
No.
Were you still close?
Yes.
Okay. Before I forget, we talked about some family. Does Alyssa also have some aunts?
Yes.
And one of those is one of those an aunt that lives in California?
Did, yes.
And when I say Alyssa, was that aunt as yours as well?
Yes.
And when you say did, does that mean she passed away?
Correct.
And how close were you and Alyssa to that aunt?
I was closer in the family than anybody to Lynette. How much contact Alyssa actually had with Lynette, I'm not terribly sure.
Was it someone that she had ever gone to stay with?
I don't believe so.
And was it someone that she lived with before?
No.
Okay.
I can't tell what side he's on as a witness, if he's pro-defendant or pro-prosecution.
Now, you said you went over to the house, you had a conversation with the defendant. You believed you looked around the house, possibly in her room. Did the defendant tell you anything about attempting to see if video surveillance had captured Alyssa?
I vaguely remember going maybe over some videos to see if she had left or if there was any evidence of her leaving the house.
Did the defendant tell you that the video surveillance did not show Alyssa leaving?
I believe that's correct.
After going to that 17217 residence, what did you do in the days and weeks following?
That's a bit of a blur, but I think I remember, like I said, contacting some of her friends that I knew better than maybe the rest of the family did. But the response was always the same. No one had seen her.
Okay. Was there a person, based on your personal knowledge, if you know, was there a person in the family who everyone left to do the bulk of the searching?
I believe our father.
Okay.
It's a good question, Ginger. It's all circumstantial evidence, no physical, to my knowledge.
At some point, did you become aware of a purported phone call made by Alyssa to the defendant?
Yes.
Do you recall about how long after you found out Alyssa had disappeared that this call, you were informed about this call?
I don't remember the timeline of the phone call.
And to be clear, maybe a poor question, but you weren't at the residence when this call came in?
No.
So did you find out about this call from the defendant?
Correct.
And excuse me if I asked this question already, but did the defendant tell you anything about what was said or if anything was said during that call?
I don't remember if there was an actual conversation or that she left a message other than he was trying to get the actual phone number from that particular payphone.
Okay.
I get sleepy watching him blink.
Now, at some point in the years following, did police contact you and interview you?
I believe I had one interview with Summershoe.
Okay, and do you remember approximately when that was?
I don't.
Would 2008 or 2009 sound accurate?
I would believe it would be in the same time that they contacted my sister Sarah for the same interview.
So we're talking about years after Alyssa went missing.
I believe so.
Hello, ma'am. I think that was a drink refill for the jurors.
One more, Aaron.
I'm not sure if it's answering style or the questioning style or the line of questioning, but I can't see the point that they're trying to score with this witness. What evidence are they trying to elicit from him that is new, that will be influential in the minds of the jury? I just don't see it here unless this is laying foundation for something else.
Just two more questions, Mr. Turney. Since May 17, 2001, have you heard from Alyssa?
I have not.
And have you seen Alyssa?
I have not.
No additional questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Cross-examination. Ms. Hicks.
Oh, you put it up there. Thank you. 10 minutes. 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 10 min Good morning, sir. I want to start with some background questions about your relationship with Alyssa. These might seem like I'm asking a lot of details about it, but it's because there's a jury here that doesn't really know very much about you or your family.
Sure.
Okay. You're Alyssa's older half-brother.
Correct.
And your mother is Barbara Turney.
Correct.
Okay. Alyssa's mother is also Barbara Turney.
Correct.
You share the same father, but not the same mother.
No. Same mother. Yeah.
I should clarify. Say the same mother, not the same biological father.
Correct.
Okay. Now, your mother, Barbara, married Mike when you were a child.
Yes.
And later, Mike adopted both you and Alyssa.
Correct.
You were raised by Mike.
Pretty much, yes.
So was Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
And there was a total of 6 children in the family?
Yes.
So your 3 stepbrothers.
Seriously.
Correct.
Somebody call Brandy.
Rhett, James, Mike Jr.
Correct.
Sarah.
Yes.
Mike and Barbara's daughter.
Yes.
Alyssa.
Yes.
And you.
Correct.
Now, you and Alyssa were not Mike's biological children,
Correct.
but you and Alyssa called him Dad.
Yes.
Mike adopted both of you.
Correct.
And even though you and Alyssa were adopted, you told the police that Mike didn't treat you or Alyssa any differently.
Correct.
He raised you as his own children.
He did?
In fact, in 2008, you told the police that your father went out of his way to make sure you and Alyssa were happy.
He did.
Now, sir, I'd like to turn now to some of the differences between how you and your sisters were raised.
With stick figures.
I know this was a long time ago, so if you don't remember, that's okay.
Pink and blue stick figures.
But yeah, I do want to clarify some things. So you and your brothers were quite a bit older than your sisters.
Yes.
And there was some point where all of the brothers had moved out from the house.
Right.
After you and your brothers moved out, your father raised your 2 sisters.
Correct.
It was his first time raising daughters.
Yes.
And prior to Alyssa and Sarah, he only had boys to raise.
Yes.
Now, after your mother's death, and after you and your brothers moved out, Mike was left to raise the girls on his own.
Correct.
He was a single dad.
Yes.
And you said during your police interview that Mike wasn't sure how to raise 2 girls after the rest of us left.
Yes, it was difficult.
And you're referring to the rest of us as you and your brothers.
Right.
And you were in your 20s at the time that Alyssa was a teenager?
Yeah.
Okay. And you noticed that there were some differences between how your father raised Sarah and Alyssa than how he raised you and your brothers.
Yes.
Your father was stricter in some ways.
Yes, I can imagine, again, boys and girls are different.
Right. So dating, he was stricter with dating.
Average, just daily, I guess the daily run in the house would be different, yes, with the girls.
Yeah. The girls had a stricter curfew.
As far as I know, yes.
He needed to know who they were spending time with.
Yes.
And again, I mean, you said this just a minute ago. This is because boys and girls sometimes need to be parented differently.
Yes, and being a single father, I'm sure it's difficult to make that switch.
Sure. I mean, is it fair to say that sometimes a teenage girl might be more vulnerable in certain situations than a teenage boy?
I can imagine, yes.
Teen pregnancy.
Sure.
Sexual assault.
Right.
So there are different concerns for a parent of a girl than a parent of a boy.
Brought that up.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you said in the police interview that you didn't see your father's rules as excessive.
If you say so, like I said, I have very little recollection of the actual interview.
Yeah.
But
and I understand this was a long time ago.
Right.
It was 15 years ago, in 2008. So I understand that there might be some things that you don't recall, and that's okay. But if it's something that you said in a police interview, was it something that you believed was true at the time?
And possibly, and I wasn't at the house a whole lot, so everything I kind of see is face value.
Sure, but you did tell the police that you didn't see your father's rules as excessive.
Sure.
Is that correct?
Now, there was actually a point where you grew tired of your father's rules.
Yes.
You couldn't live at home anymore because you didn't like how strict your father was.
Yeah, and they're just teenage angst, and I was ready to leave.
Yeah. And you said in your police interview, it was easier to find another place to live and make my own rules.
Correct.
So you left home at 17 years old?
Yes, to start college.
Okay. Same age as Alyssa when she disappeared?
Yes.
Now, Alyssa would have been 11 or 12 years old when you left home.
That sounds about right.
So she was still living at home.
Yes.
She knew you left.
Yes.
And you ended up making it on your own.
Correct.
And when you moved out, you got to make your own rules, I'm assuming.
Yes.
That's the one benefit you get.
And I mean, you said in your police interview that you didn't take the rules at home very well.
No.
No, you didn't say that, or no, you didn't take
No, I didn't. No, I didn't take rule very well.
Okay. And you said neither did Alyssa.
No, she was a lot like me.
Catherine, thanks for your support. Welcome to the gallery.
Now, sir, I want to move to, and you talked about a little bit about this on Direct, about a time where Alyssa lived with you.
Yes.
Okay. Alyssa lived with you and your brother Mike for a short period of time.
Correct.
2 weeks.
Correct.
Okay. You were in your 20s?
Yes, at that time I would have been 21, 22.
Okay. And Alyssa was 15 or 16?
That sounds about right.
And this was about a year before her disappearance?
That sounds about the right timeline.
Okay. And at that time, Alyssa wasn't getting along with your father.
Correct.
Alyssa wasn't getting along with Sarah.
Correct.
And, I mean, in fact, you told the police that Alyssa and Sarah were constantly going at it.
I'm sure that's probably what I said, but again, 2 teenage daughters, I'm sure.
Yeah. They were really at each other's throats back then.
Again, I don't see everything that goes in the house, but I'm sure words are exchanged.
Is that? I mean, am I asking? Is that what you told the police in 2008?
Again, I don't recall.
Now, your father had a lot of rules in the house.
Yes.
He was strict.
Yes.
And Alyssa was carefree.
To some extent, sure.
I mean, you described her to the police as carefree.
She was, like I said, she was wandering spirit like me.
Free spirit.
Yep.
She wanted to live her life the way she wanted to.
I believe so.
She smoked marijuana every day.
The frequency, I'm not sure.
Well, you at least knew that she smoked marijuana.
Yes, I did.
And she didn't try to hide it from anyone.
No.
It was an open, out in the open.
Correct.
She was going to parties.
The partying I'm not aware of.
Well, you told the police in 2008 that she was going to parties.
That she was going to parties. I mean, if that's what I said, I don't remember much of the partying part.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But I'm asking, if that's something that you said in a police interview, is that something that you believed at the time?
That sounds correct.
Okay. Drinking.
I'm sure.
Now, your father wouldn't let Alyssa drink underage.
Probably not.
Wouldn't let her smoke weed.
Yeah, probably not.
She had a curfew.
Yes, I'm not sure what the curfew was, but yes.
She had to tell her father where she was going when she left the house.
Yes, I do remember that she had to give details where she was going and where she'd be and when she'd be back.
And Alyssa wanted freedom.
I would assume so.
This is live. It is morning in Arizona.
Alyssa just kind of went out and did what she wanted.
That probably sounds correct.
You said she was open sexually.
Yes, as far as that.
You said she wasn't quiet about it, that's for sure.
No. She confided a lot in me.
Okay. You described her as an early bloomer.
Yes, she was.
Now, there was a time that Alyssa was living with you that you got upset with her. I don't know if you know what I'm referring to, but there was an incident where she slept with your neighbor.
Okay, yes.
Alyssa was 15, 16.
Correct.
The neighbor was in his 20s.
I would assume so. I didn't really know him much.
And you said your father was aware of this.
Yeah, I don't remember the circumstances of how that was made apparent, but I do believe so, yes.
It's obviously concerning for a parent.
Right.
Alyssa was a minor.
Yes.
The neighbor wasn't.
No.
I mean, that's statutory rape.
All right.
Now, I want to ask you some questions about Alyssa's boyfriend at the time. And I know yesterday, Mr. Bailey had asked you some questions, briefly about him. And I'm not bringing up these questions to try to embarrass you, to try to embarrass him, but to get a sense of what their relationship was like at the time. Okay.
Which means this is gonna
you knew that
embarrass
Alyssa had a boyfriend at the time of her disappearance, right?
Correct.
They dated for 6 months.
I don't remember how long.
Short period of time.
Okay.
And you didn't like him.
Not so much I didn't like him. I'm very strongly opinionated, and
Yeah.
but I, like any brother, I would say that no one's really good enough.
Yeah, I mean, you told the police that Alyssa was out of his league.
And yes.
Yeah. You said he was a loser.
Oh, yes.
Juror says I'm having problems hearing.
Thank you. I'll talk closer to the mic. Is that better? Okay.
Counsel, if you bend it so that it's directly, there you go.
Let's teach him how to use mics.
Thank you. You said her boyfriend was a loser.
That sounds probably about right.
Dumpy.
Yes.
You said no one in the family liked him.
I don't think us brothers probably liked anyone she would have dated.
Okay. So none of the brothers liked him?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And you were surprised Alyssa was dating him?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, because again, she was out of his league.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to turn now to how you found out about Alyssa's disappearance, and I know we got into some of this on direct, but your father called you the night that Alyssa went missing.
Sounds about right.
He was concerned.
Of course.
He thought maybe you had heard from Alyssa.
Yes.
But you hadn't.
Correct.
Now, your father asked you to come to the house to see if anything was off.
But I vaguely remember that time, but that would make sense, yes.
Okay. Now, your father had surveillance cameras around the house.
Yes.
One outside.
I don't remember them all, but I'm sure there was one in the driveway and one
Okay.
out.
So one inside, one outside.
Object at this point, Judge, to personal knowledge. I believe the witness testified that he was not aware of those.
Counsel, can I hear the question again?
There was a camera inside and outside.
The witness may answer if he knows.
I was not aware of the cameras inside until everyone else knew at that point.
Okay. Now, when you were asked about any surveillance on the day that Alyssa went missing, this was about 7 years after her disappearance, right?
Correct.
Is during that police interview.
I don't remember that part of the interview, but sure.
Yeah. So, Detective Summershoe asked you whether or not your father showed you any surveillance footage of the day that Alyssa went missing.
Okay. I guess you're referring to the report, correct?
And you told him that your father probably showed you the surveillance tape because that's something he would have done.
Right.
But you didn't remember seeing Alyssa in the video.
I don't remember, no.
Okay. But if you had seen Alyssa, that's probably something you would have remembered.
If I had seen her in the tape.
It would have been significant.
Correct.
Now, you told the police that Alyssa knew where the cameras were in the house.
Yeah, I don't remember who told me that they were there, but like I said, by that time I would have known. And I remember some discussions on the videos in the house.
I understand, but the question is whether you told the police that Alyssa knew the cameras were in the house.
I'm sure she probably did when she found out.
And you told the police that she knew how to get out of the house without being seen.
I'm sure she probably figured that out.
Object to personal knowledge for that? How did you know?
Well, I think the question was, did he say that to the police? So the objection's overruled. The answer may stand.
Sir, during your police interview, you talked with the detective about some of Alyssa's personal belongings, things that she cherished, right?
I don't remember that part of it, no, but.
Well, there was a conversation that you had with the police about items that Alyssa found significant.
Okay.
Would it help if I had you listen to a portion of that interview?
Sure.
Okay. Just a moment, Your Honor.
I think if anyone asks me if I'm ever in court, if they can refresh my recollection, I'll let them know that no. You can play my own voice back to me, and I still don't remember that happening. So there's some live streams that I watch, and I'm like, I said what? But yeah, these guys all say sure, and then they end up getting played. Amy just gifted 5 more memberships. Congratulations to Purple Haze, Jackie D, Amy Thorpe, John Gary, and Swansea Coffee. Shawnee Coffee. Sorry about that, Shawnee. Sorry, I'll try that again. Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy Coffee. And then some names just trip me up. There's nothing hard about your name. I just can't say it. That's my apologies. And thank you, Amy. Super generous today. So they're going to be bringing up a laptop with the headphones for the witness to put on. The witness will be able to play the video, hear the audio. No one else will hear it. If it refreshes their recollection, they'll indicate so, and then they'll answer. And it sounds like a lot of this testimony is going to be admitted into evidence, or these videos will be admitted into evidence, the way the judges recited the ruling. But they have not motioned to have any in yet. So he's listening to himself in an interview with police. Rick, I wouldn't say this one is an unwilling or a hostile witness for either side. He seems, honestly, I would say he doesn't like being there. But it seems equal for both sides. Him questioning it all is it's just not fun. He's been fairly even with his responses on both sides. Doesn't seem like he has selective memory in favor of prosecution or defense.
Right. So, sir, you just listened to a clip of your police interview from 2008.
Correct.
And there was some questioning in there about some of Alyssa's jewelry, keepsakes.
Yes.
So you knew that Alyssa had some of your mother's jewelry.
Yes.
And there was a necklace of your mother's that she wore occasionally.
Correct.
About 3 days to catch up.
But it wasn't something she
That's
wore
quick.
all the time.
To my knowledge, no.
You said it wasn't exactly modern jewelry.
Right.
Right? It was from the 80s.
Right.
You said Alyssa liked to wear trendy jewelry.
Correct.
Sir, I want to talk now about what your father did to find your sister. During your police interview, you stated that your father spent a lot of time trying to track Alyssa down.
Correct.
You said that he spent $50,000.
That's what I was told.
May I object to personal knowledge, how the witness knows this?
You can address that on redirect. The question was whether he said that to the police. The answer may stand.
Good
and
question.
You said that finding Alyssa consumed him.
That sounds right.
You said he took several trips to California.
I did not witness most of them myself, but that's what I was told, yes.
Passed out flyers with Alyssa's information.
I remember some of that, yes.
He sued Quest to get the phone records of a call he received from California.
I remember some of the conversations about that, yes.
Okay. He worked with NASCAR to get a picture of Alyssa on the hood of the car.
Correct.
And you went to a race where that car was racing.
I did.
Alyssa's photo was on national TV.
Correct.
The John Walsh Show?
I don't remember which one, but yeah.
But national TV program.
It was, correct.
Okay. Now, you told the detective that your dad made a mistake in focusing all of his attention on Alyssa.
If that's what it said, okay. That makes sense.
Okay. You said he neglected Sarah.
I'm sure she was jealous of the time, correct?
You thought your father was going overboard with his search to find Alyssa.
That's
Opinion.
Objection.
May I hear the question again?
You thought your
You
father
thought
was
your
going
father was going overboard with his search to find Alyssa.
I'll allow it. The witness may answer.
At the time, it might have sounded excessive.
Okay. So is that something that you said?
If that's what the interview said.
You thought that Mike should focus more on his daughter at home?
I'm sure I said that.
Okay. Now, sir, your first interview was with the Phoenix Police in 2008.
I vaguely remember, but that sounds about the right timeline.
You spoke with the police on September 23rd, 2008.
Correct.
September 30th, 2008.
I don't remember a second interview.
I believe one was a phone interview and one was in person.
I'm sure it's probably right. I don't remember a phone interview.
Well, you spoke with the police in 2008.
Okay.
That was your first time speaking with them, correct?
Okay. Correct.
Okay. And the defense team actually asked you to participate in an interview.
For the trial?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
You didn't get notified of an interview request?
Not to my unless the advocate had said something about it, but I don't remember a direct question. The only one I talked to was the prosecution, and I didn't talk to them before the trial.
Were you aware that defense had requested an interview?
Like I said, I don't know if she made it clear that you guys were requesting. They just asked if I wanted to talk to the defense.
Didn't talk to either side, apparently.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
So this is interesting. The advocate may have a legal duty to pass on certain things to the victim's family. So they basically asked to interview him before the trial, and that message didn't get to the end of the row. The water didn't get all the way down to the end of the row. Matthew Country Boy, welcome. Thanks for clicking that subscribe button. You're one of us now. You can never leave.
Sir, I have a couple of questions about the NASCAR event that we talked about earlier. Because you had stated that you were at that event.
Correct.
Was your father at the event as well?
Yes.
Did you pass out flyers or anything?
I don't remember. It's possible. I don't remember if we did or not.
And then do you remember what year that was?
I don't.
Okay.
It's a victim's advocate. CG.
Sir, my last section is about Alyssa, about describing Alyssa.
Okay.
Out of all of the siblings, you were the closest to Alyssa.
Correct.
Unlike the other siblings, you knew her since she was born.
Correct.
And even after you moved out, you stayed in contact with Alyssa.
I did.
You would talk on the phone sometimes.
Correct.
Sometimes visit in person at the house.
Yes.
She lived with you at some point.
Correct.
I mean, you had a relationship with her entire life.
I did.
Okay. Which the other family members can't say.
Correct.
Now, you remember Alyssa as a hyper kid.
She was, yes.
You told the police that she was prescribed Ritalin at some point.
I believe so, yes.
She had a hard time in school.
Yes.
Had a hard time sitting still.
Yes.
Concentrating.
Yes.
She didn't particularly like school.
I don't really know if she liked or disliked school.
She had no plans to go to college.
Not that, to my knowledge.
Now, you described her as someone with a quick temper.
She had a temper, yes.
Someone who did what she wanted.
At times, yes.
You described her as not very smart.
Yeah, she would tell you she wasn't terribly smart.
You said Alyssa didn't make great choices.
Yeah, she didn't make terrible choices, but I think she made quick decisions.
Okay. You said she didn't have very many inhibitions.
I don't have too many knowledge of said inhibitions.
Well, and I'm not asking you for specific examples. I'm asking you if that's something that you told the police, that she didn't have very many inhibitions.
If that's what I said in my interview.
Okay. I mean, would you like to review the police report?
No, that's all right.
Okay. So, yes, that is something that you told the police.
Okay, yes.
Alyssa was outgoing.
She was.
Flirtatious.
Sure.
And you said of Alyssa that she was kind of like your mother. If someone tickled her fancy, she would cling on to them against her better judgment.
That was probably true.
Okay. Just a moment, Your Honor. All right. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Mr. Bailey, any redirect?
What if the jury has any questions for him? Like,
all right, so
how
you
do
were
feel
asked a number
about
of
this?
questions about Mr. John Lackman and your personal observations of him.
Correct.
Do you believe, was he someone that was concerning to you in the sense of Alyssa's safety?
No, I did not see him as any concern.
You talked about a number of things that the defendant did to look for Alyssa. You stated that you were also, on direct, you stated you also were not around that often. How did you find out about many of the things the defendant did?
A lot of the stuff was just what I was told, what was being done in the search for her.
Was one of those individuals telling you that, the defendant?
Yes.
You spoke about Alyssa's grades and how well she did in school. Did you ever actually observe the grades that she was receiving while in school?
I don't remember witnessing grades. I might have seen them, but I don't remember. I just remember they weren't terrible, but they weren't great.
You've said a lot of things on the cross-examination about the witness, about Alyssa's behavior and demeanor. She was your obviously biological sister.
Right.
Would you have described her as a good kid?
She was. I would describe her very much the way I was. I was very outgoing and I didn't like rules, but at the same time, I wasn't terrible either. But I stayed out of trouble as much as I could. I didn't get into too much trouble.
Judge, I apologize, but may we approach?
On or off?
On, please.
You may.
May we approach on or off? He's asking about on the record or off the record. This is on the record. Mr. Turney there is taking drive-through orders. It's a nice little headset. The beep is just to let us know that we're still listening, that there's audio happening, but we're not privy to it because it is a sidebar. Is he still in jail? Yes, he is. He's been held, I believe, without bond or on a pretty big bond. But he is in custody. He did serve some jail time after one of the search warrants was served in this case. He served 7 years. And that was for, I would say, weapons or dangerous explosives and things that were found at his home. He served 7 years for that. I believe it was related because there may have been allegations or a plan to blow up some union type building that he thought was involved in Alyssa's disappearance. Or it's a little bit warped. I mean, I don't think we get to hear a lot of that in this trial. But see if we get the audio back. The judge is going to push the button. Here we go.
All right. You said that Alyssa enjoyed her freedom. Based on your relationship with her, did she want freedom from you?
No.
You said that Alyssa, when you moved out, you spoke about moving out on cross-examination.
Okay.
Did you let people know that you were moving out?
Yes.
Did you tell people you would be moving out?
To my knowledge, anybody who needed to know.
Did you take your stuff with you when you moved out?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Please tell me. It appears that there are none. Thank you, sir. You may resume.
No jury questions on this one.
Back at the courtroom if you'd like.
He's allowed to sit in the courtroom even though the exclusionary rule is in place.
For a juror who is having trouble hearing, you hearing okay? We do have headphones, if that will help.
Bring the juror some headphones, please. I believe all the letters so far are on Discord. We're waiting for the last letter to drop, Amy, in the Sarah Boone case.
Thank you for letting us be aware of that. Appreciate that. State may call its next witness.
If I may have 1 moment just to check
Sure.
on a witness.
Sure.
They need to do a quick check to see if the witness is here before they call them. That's always nice. It's embarrassing to call someone and have them not be here. So the judge told us this morning in the Sarah Boone hearing that there was another letter that had been sent to him and that he will have that filed here soon. It has not been filed yet, but we're waiting with bated breath.
Sir, if you'll please come forward and approach the clerk, she'll get your name from you and swear you in. Yes.
I believe black shirts are the order of the day for witnesses.
And sir, if you'll please take a walk up the ramp and have a seat on the witness stand here to my right. Mr. Bailey, you may proceed with your direct examination whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Judge.
We're on number 6.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
I'm James Turney.
Okay, and what do you currently do for work?
I'm a consultant, IT.
And where do you live? In what state?
Oregon.
Okay.
He looks like an IT consultant.
Well, I guess, I'll jump right into this. Did you do a police interview for this case?
Yes.
All right. We heard from obviously just John Turney. How are you related to the defendant?
She is my stepsister legally. Yeah.
Sorry, I said the defendant.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. He's my father.
All right. And who are your biological brothers?
Rhett and Michael. Seth.
Michael Seth. Right. And is Sarah your biological sister?
Yes.
And how is Alyssa related to you?
Alyssa's my stepsister.
Okay. Prior to Alyssa moving in with you and John, where were you living?
In Phoenix at the Villarita house.
And who was who were you living with?
It was me, my brother Rhett, my brother Michael, and my dad.
At what point did your father marry Barbara?
Sometime in the 80s.
Okay. And is that when and when did Alyssa excuse me. And you said in the 1980s, was your father at that time working?
Yes.
Okay. What was he doing at that time?
He was an electrician.
And where did your father work prior to being an electrician?
He was a deputy sheriff.
Okay. You said he married Barbara in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
And can you tell us about the living arrangements, who was living with who for the next about 10 years or so? Or probably until the point you move out.
So I guess we were all living at the Villarita house. It was me, my brother Rhett until he joined the Army, and there was Michael, Alyssa, Sarah, and John.
Okay.
And my dad and Barbara until she passed on.
And you said Barbara passed, and we've heard a little bit about that. Do you recall when she passed away?
It was 1993, I believe.
Witness needs an attorney if they're going to talk about a crime they committed. There's something they say might get them prosecuted.
Did your family move a lot?
Oh, last poet.
No.
Epic.
What addresses do you recall living at?
2954 West Villarita.
Okay.
Primarily. When I was very young, I lived in Maryville, and then we did live 1 year in Redding, or technically Anderson, California.
Okay. I guess a good question to ask would be at what point did you move out of that household?
About 2 years after Barbara's passing.
So would this have been approximately in 1995 or 1996?
Roughly, yes.
Who was living with the defendant at that time?
At that time, it was me, my sister Alyssa and sister Sarah. I think Michael and John had moved out by that time. I think. I'm not 100% sure.
And when you moved out, did you move somewhere local at that time?
When I moved out, yes, I went to live with my mother for a year when I was going to ASU, and then I moved in to an apartment in Tempe.
Did you maintain contact with the family after you moved out?
Up to a point when I was no longer allowed to.
And what was your relationship with Alyssa like prior to moving out?
Like a lot of my siblings, I'm kind of like the sub-parent. So it was seen as kind of like not, a little bit more than a bigger brother. So it was the one who, when they were younger, if my dad or my stepmom weren't around, I was the one making sure that they were up and moving, had food, did their homework, cleaned their rooms, got to school. Later, after Barbara passed, my dad was very ill when we got back into Phoenix, and I even did like school conferences and stuff like that with teachers.
All right.
Man.
So we're still at the point where it's approximately 1995, and prior to that, when you moved out, what was your relationship with Alyssa like?
I would take them to the movies and hang around the house, make sure that everybody was where they were supposed to be, that I knew where they were at if they were going to their friend's house or that kind of stuff.
Probably a poor question. Did you two get along?
Pretty much.
And at this time, was Alyssa younger, around 10, 11 years old?
I think so. Maybe a little younger than that. I'm not sure.
Up until the point when you moved
in.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
And was Sarah was your biological sister, correct?
Yes.
And was your relationship with Sarah and Alyssa similar in the sense of what you felt you did with them and responsibilities-wise?
Pretty much. I would say I had to keep a closer eye on Sarah, and Alyssa was pretty good about, at least with me, following the rules when she'd go to her friend's house and coming back, that kind of stuff.
After you had moved out, so we're talking while you're still living locally, did you visit Alyssa? Would you see Alyssa?
When I was allowed to.
Okay. And at some point, do you move out of state?
I moved out of state just after 9/11. So yeah, in October 2001.
Why are we not answering the question? This allowed thing keeps
and
rising
so
up.
From when you moved out in 1995 to 1996, up until October of 2001, you were not living at the residence where your father was at, but you were still living locally? Is that
yes,
fair?
I was in Tempe for a while and then in Chandler.
It almost sounds like a parole restriction or something.
Regarding Alyssa, and were you aware of what she did during the day, like her daily life?
While I was out of the house?
While you're at the house?
Most of the time she went to school. She played with her friends. She was very active. So.
Okay. And one moment, Your Honor.
Let's see what happens here. This is the allowed thing. The comments, it's like a red flag, waving red flag in the testimony, and the attorneys are just ignoring it.
Without getting into the reason why,
there it is.
You said there was a period of time where you did not have contact with Alyssa and Sarah.
I did not have direct contact, yes.
Okay. However, were you able to reestablish your relationship with them in the months preceding when Alyssa disappeared?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that? Well, how did you reestablish that a relationship? What types of things did you do?
We went to the movies a couple of times. We went to Big Surf. I was allowed to do outings like that, and then to come over.
And so did you have conversations with Alyssa?
Yes.
And did Alyssa tell you things that were going on in her life?
Yeah, she talked about her friends a lot. She talked about the problems at home.
Are you aware of some of Alyssa's friends?
Most of the friends that I was aware of were Stacy and Katie when she was a little bit younger. I knew of Charity, and there was, I can't remember all of their names. She had a lot of friends. She was very social.
Okay, so clearly there's been a pre-trial ruling on what is not allowed, and apparently the reason why he was not allowed to go in.
Based on the time that you spent with Alyssa
has been excluded.
Prior to 1995 and 1996, was there a brother that Alyssa appeared to be closest with?
Definitely, it was John.
Okay. Yeah. And we've heard about this, and you were in the courtroom. Were they biological brother and sister?
Yes.
We heard a little bit of a description from John already, but could you describe just Alyssa's general physical appearance?
She was probably close to my height, or maybe a little bit shorter. Blonde hair, dressed well.
And what's your height?
I'm 5'7".
Okay, and was she average build?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And now we're going back to after you reestablished relationship with her, were you aware of her having any pets?
No, I do for some reason think that there might have been a ferret for some reason. No, I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe a ferret.
Were you aware if she had a cell phone?
Yes.
Okay.
Could be prejudicial. I'm not probative.
Did you meet a boyfriend of hers?
Yes.
Who was that?
John.
And you said you personally met him?
Yes.
What were your impressions of Mr. Lackman?
I thought he was incredibly sweet and nice guy.
Okay.
Ferrets are great pets. I've heard great things about them.
All right. You spoke about the defendant a little bit, but could you describe, and that's your father, that's your biological father, correct?
Yes.
And you see him in the courtroom today?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and if you could identify him, state where he's seated.
He's to the left of Ms. Hicks.
Okay, may the record reflect that the witness identified the defendant?
The record will so reflect.
Thank you. Back in 2001, was the defendant, did the defendant need assistance of like a wheelchair?
No.
Was he a physically capable individual?
Incredibly so.
Okay.
Incredibly so. That's an interesting answer. Incredibly physically capable.
Did you know about the recording system that was used at residences?
Yes.
Okay. And which residences were you aware of recording systems for?
All of them. Okay.
And was this based on you personally observing them?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to focus right now on the 17217 residence. Where were there video surveillance in that house as far as the cameras?
The only one I know of was with the carport area.
All right.
Yeah.
That's the only one you had personal knowledge of?
That's the only one I ever saw.
Do you know of where the recording system for that was located?
It was in the kitchen on like the counter.
All right. Are you aware of whether there was a recording system for the telephones?
I assume since I since I was as young as I can remember, there always being one on a phone.
Okay. And when you, well, do you know how those systems operated?
I knew how I never used or played with the one that was at that particular residence, but the other ones I knew quite well because we learned at a young age how to turn them off so we could talk to our mother and whoever we wanted to without my father recording it. And when you say you were aware of that system, where was that system located? This was the 2954 Villa Rita house. So that one was in the house until my father built a very large, huge wooden shed. And then it was located in the wooden shed. So he strung a line out there, and that's where the phone was at.
Was the system you were aware of, how did it turn on?
Whenever anyone called or you picked up the phone.
Okay. So was, based on your knowledge of the system, was it a passive recording system?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a cold case. No body. Second-degree murder charge against the stepfather. 20-year-old cold case. Very, very little physical evidence. Lots of circumstantial evidence. The creep factor alarms have been pegged. The creep radar is going nuts here. But physical evidence is scarce.
How did you become aware that Alyssa had disappeared?
My father called me.
Okay. And you were living locally?
Yes. I was in Chandler.
And what did your father tell you about her disappearing?
That Alyssa was gone and she had left a note.
And that she had left a note? What did you do?
I believe I talked with him for a bit about it, and I came over soon after. I don't know if it was the next day or whatever. I came over a little bit after that.
Did you go into the house?
Yes.
Okay. And did you look around?
Yes.
Did you, again, without saying what, if she said anything to you, did you talk to Sarah about this?
I don't believe so. I think Sarah was either in her room or at her friend's house.
What was Sarah's relationship like based on your observations with the defendant?
How was it? It seemed to be pretty good between her and my father. Yeah.
Okay. And contrast that, or how was Alyssa's relationship with the defendant?
Not good.
You said you came over, you looked around, and then what did you do?
I probably sat down and talked to him about what he was going through in order to try to find Alyssa, what things that he'd found out, what's the news, any updates, that kind of stuff.
All right. And then did you assist in trying to locate Alyssa?
I think the extent that I did is me and one of my boyfriends, we went around and hung up flyers in the local neighborhood, but that's about as far as we went.
All right. So we've heard from John, we've heard from you. I guess, why didn't you do more to locate Alyssa?
I assume my father would be the absolute best person to do it. He seemed to be consumed by it.
Okay. And when we'll get to it a little bit, but the things that your father told you or things your father did, how did you find out about those things?
He told me.
Okay. Did you actually go with him on any trips to California?
No.
Did your father tell you that he received a call from Alyssa shortly after she went disappeared?
Yes.
Do you know how long that was?
I think a week or something like that.
What did your father, defendant, tell you about the call?
What he told me initially was there was nothing on the other end except static or garbled or something like that. There was no coherent thing coming from the other side, and he was yelling into the phone, "Alyssa, is that you? Alyssa, is that you?" until the phone hung up.
So did he tell you he actually spoke to Alyssa?
No. There was no conversation between the two of them.
And when he told you this statement about the call, how shortly did he say that the call had occurred? Did he within a day? I mean, time frame.
I think it was that day or the next. I'm not sure. I think it was that day, though, because it was early, I think, when the call came in.
Man,
Judge, we have an issue to address.
Yes, we do.
And we were going to stop a few minutes early. I also have one other issue I'd like to bring up. So can we break now for lunch?
Yes. Can everybody be back at 1:15 rather than 1:30? Yes. Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for lunch now. I'll ask you to be back in the jury room at 1:15. Please remember the admonition. You can leave everything in the courtroom if you'd like. Jury's now excused.
Okay, so this is where we're going to break for the day. I realize it's weird, but if we break for the day here, we can pick up tomorrow with the balance of today's things, catch up with that during the morning instead of having a big gap with nothing to watch in the morning, and then watch again live. So we're going to watch half on replay and half live. It is an hour and 30-minute break. One other thing this allows me to do is this allows me to go and take Mrs. R.A. to a play. Which is 2 hours away, and it takes a little bit of driving. So that would be beneficial. It's a rough schedule.
Let the record show
as
the
Arizona
presence of counsel and the
things.
defendant. The jury is not present.
No more drywall.
Counsel,
today.
on the issue of restraints. On the issue of restraints, the sheriff's office does have a right to be present. So I'm going to ask Mr. Imberdino or Mr. Bailey to contact the person in your office who represents the sheriff's office and ask them to be here at 10:15 tomorrow to address the issue of restraints. Any concerns with what I've just asked?
No, sir.
Okay.
I just saw that the hearing just was made official on the record. It is going to be on the 21st.
The testimony I want to elicit.
Microphone.
Sorry, Judge. There's testimony I want to elicit from the witness right now. It goes into an area that I believe is inadmissible. So I'm going to lead the witness through that portion of the testimony. I just spoke to defense, and I think they've agreed to allow that, but I'll allow them to make their position.
Any objection?
I will let Ms. Hicks address that because I think there is an issue where I believe it is admissible, and she was going to bring that up with the court. So
microphone.
Yeah, and actually from defense's perspective, and I think that Mr. Bailey is referring to a conversation James had with Alyssa that he discussed with the police. From defense's perspective, it comes in under a hearsay exception because it was state of mind, excited utterance, present sense impression. It was a conversation that James describes as where she was upset, visibly upset, sobbing, hysterical, and relays information about how unhappy she was. So, I mean, from just defense's perspective, I think that should come in under a hearsay exception.
When did the conversation happen?
A month prior to Alyssa's disappearance.
And the extent of his testimony would be that she had a conversation with him in which she was visibly upset?
Of my testimony or the state's? Of my...
So the state is saying they're trying to avoid some testimony. What is the testimony that you're trying to get into beyond what I just recapped?
Sure. Well, I mean, my testimony is questions about her explaining that she was exhausted, unhappy, what was going on in her life at the time, that she wanted to be independent, that she didn't want to live with her brothers.
And when you say that she was unhappy, what do you expect? Were you going to ask what she was unhappy about?
Well, I don't think that the witness says in his police interview. In the police interview, he says that just simply that she was unhappy. So I wasn't going to ask what she was unhappy about, but I did have a line of questioning about living with the brothers and wanting independence.
Okay. And the state's position is?
So, Judge, here's the issue with this. First of all, Mr. James Turney exercises his right not to be interviewed by defense. I asked him specifically about that issue, about that. It's a walk that they go on. The defendant, Mr. James Turney told me that the incident was that the defendant put his hand on Alyssa's leg in a car. She ran out of the car screaming. She said they went on a walk. She became emotional. She told him that her dad tried something. And because of that, she wanted to get out of the house. So I believe that went into inadmissible areas ruled by this court prior. And so I wanted to avoid eliciting any of that information completely.
So is it your belief that he would testify that she was upset at James or she was upset at her father?
She was upset at her father, and we couldn't narrow down how close the event occurred of when the incident in the car and this walk. The closest we could possibly put it at was a week, so I did not believe it qualified as an excited utterance for that purpose.
Okay.
And may defense respond?
You may.
I guess there's a couple of issues. First, James never once in his defense interview had mentioned this incident in the car. He was specifically asked by the detective whether there was any sexual abuse in the house, and he said no. So it's very concerning from defense's perspective that there's now this new version of events that hasn't been disclosed. We're just learning about it now for the first time. And James never said anything about that being the event that made Alyssa was upset during that interview.
Roger.
Quick little sidebar there between the two of them.
And it's concerning, Your Honor, that the state hasn't turned over these statements. I mean, this is clearly impeachment evidence. This is a Brady violation. This should have been disclosed to defense because nowhere in James' interview had he mentioned this.
This is a stronger argument.
Well, if you're suggesting that a written or recorded statement of the witness exists that wasn't turned over to you, I haven't heard that. So it's not something we're going to resolve at this moment. So, counsel, what I'd like to do is have the state lead the witness, however the state was planning to. Certainly, if the purpose of the cross-examination is to establish that Alyssa was unhappy shortly before she disappeared and was anxious for her freedom, we've heard that many times, and I think that that's permissible, but my expectation or my understanding is the defense does not seek to go beyond that.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. And then, Mr. Bailey, is it your argument that somehow the door is being opened as to why, what the witness knew about why Alyssa was upset?
That's correct. If that testimony would be elicited from the defense on cross, and the state would, under Rule 106, complete the reason why for that.
Well, based on the prior rulings of the court would find that pursuant to Rule 403, the danger of unfair prejudice would outweigh the probative value. So I would deny the state's request to go there into what Alyssa had alleged regarding any sexual issues, but I'll permit the defense on cross if they want to establish that he talked to Alyssa a month before, that she appeared to be upset with things at home and was anxious to get out of the house and have her own freedom. We've heard that many times, and I would allow that.
Okay.
That's
Any
strong
questions
defense
about the court's
evidence.
ruling?
No, Your Honor.
I just have a question in regards to, and obviously at this point, obviously we haven't asked or filed anything, but for a Brady violation, it doesn't need to be a recorded statement. If it's impeachment evidence, which this would be, it's a conflicting statement to what he said. The state needs to turn that over regardless if it's recorded or written.
You've made your point. Anything else we can address?
You've made your point.
Let's see. I thought there were a couple of other things that we talked about.
Yeah, there was a couple other witnesses. that I don't know if the court wants to go through them now. I don't know what the state's schedule is this afternoon for what witnesses it plans to call next, but there were several that we wanted to make a record of.
And I think I'll do it for Natasha, who is a witness that is testifying. We had talked with the state about things that she wouldn't go into. She's not going to go into hearsay, things that she heard, only the fact that she thought the defendant was controlling, but she can talk about specific instances that she saw, kind of similar to the Jessica Case rulings and Charity Robinson. And the same thing with, I believe it was Michael Stanley. He had opinions about the defendant. They weren't going to ask him about opinions. They weren't going to ask him about that. They were only going to ask about specific instances that he knew about. And also as the cameras, the hearsay and stuff like that, they would not go into. We just wanted to put that on the record.
And then additionally with...
Hold on. Let's just go one at a time. Is that the state agreeing with what Mr. Jackson just said?
Yes, Judge, that's fine.
Yes, Your Honor, they said.
And then additionally with Natasha Larson, there were some statements that she made during the defense interview about hearsay statements that she had heard from Alyssa telling her that she's always grounded. And then her opinion that Mike treated Alyssa and Sarah differently because Sarah was allowed to do whatever she wanted. From the defense's perspective, the state can't provide enough foundation to be able for her to testify about that because Natasha said that she rarely interacted with Sarah at that time, so she wouldn't be able to lay proper foundation.
Okay. Well, we'll see what the state does in terms of laying foundation. If they ask a question that you believe is objectionable, I'll hear the objection.
And then the last issue is regarding the witness, Mike Stanley. He was I believe, about 2 weeks away from turning 21. He was a manager at the Jack in the Box. He's the individual that they've referenced on the couch. He testified, he did a defense interview where he talked about making out with Alyssa and heavy petting. Our concern is potentially he could be opening himself up to some criminal charges based on her being a minor and him being almost 21 years old. And he was also in a position of trust. So I believe he should have an attorney appointed so that they can go through that with him and he can make a decision on whether he feels that any potential charges could come from that.
Did the state want to be heard?
Well, this is not a legal term, but first of all, they were within 2 years of age.
We might get some more
when
coffee.
This happened.
Okay, so that does help.
Which means that it wasn't a crime because it was consensual, number one. Number two, even if a crime had occurred, the statute of limitations was 7 years from the date the police learned about it, which would have been in 2008 or 2009. So this young man does not have any
concern.
No charges could be filed at this point, even if a crime occurred.
All right. Any response?
I disagree as to the age. It is quite clearly it is more than 3 years. He was almost 21. She was still 17.
His birthday was May 15th of 1981.
He was 1 week away from.
So he's at least 20.
He was 20 years old.
I think Mr. Imbordino's point is where they're within 2 years of each other.
No, 3 years because he would have been 20 in 2001 and Alyssa was 17.
Regardless of that, and also the first time that they learned about the heavy petting was during an interview in 2023, which is the sexual abuse allegation.
The video, Your Honor, was in police possession after the search warrant in 2008.
All right. Well, I'm going to deny the defense request to appoint an attorney for Mr. Stanley. I don't find that there is a likelihood that he would incriminate himself in a way that would result in criminal charges. Anything else?
Nothing from defense.
Anything else from the state?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll resume at 1:15. Have a nice lunch. We are now at recess.
Okay, as they are filing out for lunch, we're going to end it for the day. We'll pick up at this point, or actually we're going to skip lunch and pick up where they come back from lunch afterwards. I suggest he does get a lawyer. Yeah, if in doubt, get a lawyer. That's what we've learned, right? Lawyer up. You never know, because stranger things have happened. Let's see. Defense will now go on the defense will now go on the witness hard. We have all these rulings, right, about things that are excluded from this trial, and this is what's really fun to watch. First of all, we have all these rulings where certain elements are not allowed to be brought in, but they want to bring the witness in that would bring that element in, and they've been instructed don't go there. But if they ask the wrong question, they can open the door. And suddenly, even though we're walking this line and so far we seem to be safe, right? We're not allowing this prejudicial information in. If we're not careful, the defense particularly may ask a question that opens the door to an answer that they suddenly don't like, and they're going to be objecting to the answer they're receiving from their own question, which puts them in a tight spot where the judge says, hey, you asked the question, you opened the door, and now the state gets to go into things that they ask. So we'll see if that happens. I don't think we're out of the woods as far as mistrials are concerned on this case. I just think there's going to be more coming up there. So be mindful of that. Let's see. Surely the behaviors they are suggesting for her are alleged. So why can't they include alleged behavior from the defendant? Well, he's the one on trial, and let's see. Can I do a recap on what the case is about? Quick recap, Lily, is this. Back in 2001, was that right? 2001, May 17th, 2001, I think it was. Alyssa Turney was checked out of school early by her dad and was never seen again. He says she ran away. There was a note found in the room basically indicating that she might have run away. Her cell phone was left. Her bank account was not touched. She allegedly took some money from her dad, $300. Left a very brief note and was out of there. That's his allegation. He then went on a crusade trying to involve people and locate her. Everything that he says he's done are sort of like it was on his own. The police were not interested in that time. They thought she was just a runaway. There wasn't much investigation. Dateline did a story on this way back when. He was on the Dateline story. Dateline is actually the company that was Dateline, ABC 2020 now, is the camera company in the courtroom right now getting our video for us. So they've been following this case for many, many years. And anyway, so he's being charged with her murder, second-degree charges of murder. And the interesting thing is they have no physical evidence. It's all circumstantial. There's a huge allegations of SA involved, but all of this has been excluded. There's all these motions that would be prejudicial, and so that won't come in as evidence. So what do they have? Not much. I really think we've seen this once before, but I really think that when we get to the end of the state's case, the defense is going to make a motion for the judge to throw this out, and there's a likelihood that he might, just because the state has not proven anything. We don't have any proof that she's dead. There's no evidence. There's no body. There's no murder weapon. We might get to some allegations where he's said one thing or said another. Now, we've heard a little bit of that from Sarah, or I believe it was Sarah, where the younger daughter, where he said or told her that he would tell her what happened to Alyssa on his deathbed, or he would confess if the state would euthanize him within 10 days, or weird comments like that. But then in the same conversation, he's also said that there's nothing to confess to. How can he confess to something he didn't do? So it's a little weird. It's a little crazy. They're going to lunch. We're going home for the day because they're going to work late into the evening. And then we're going to pick up with their after lunch tomorrow morning. Mrs. R.A. and a couple of the wee ones are headed out to, I think it's Roanoke Island, for a play, Lost Colony play out there on the island. If you ever research a little bit about the early colonial America and the colony that was set up and then disappeared, it's another murder mystery, or at least a missing mystery. We're going to go watch that play, and that should be a lot of fun out on the island. And let's see. Yes, family is time's high priority. I highly recommend that for everybody. Family first. Put your family first. What time tomorrow? We're going to start 9 a.m. tomorrow, regular time. It's going to be wonderful. Was that him with the headphones on? Yes, K-Mac. The defendant is wearing headphones. He is in a wheelchair. He has many health issues. It sounds like one of his requests was the restraint that's on him around his knees, I believe, is painful or makes it difficult for circulation for him to stand up and sit down. And so they're going to make a motion tomorrow or maybe later on in the day with the sheriff present, because the sheriff is responsible for the safety of the courtroom. And so they're going to probably see if there's a different way they can restrain him that will still be satisfactory for the sheriff, but then take into account this medical condition that's been raised. So we might see a little bit different setup for the defendant. Actually, we probably won't notice a difference, but he may get a little bit less invasive restraints. Debbie says, homeschool ground zero. I can't drive in the dark. That's cool for him to do that. Yeah, Mrs. R.A. would rather not drive in the dark, and I have no problems because I can't see anything coming at me. He's like, yeah, it's safe. It's good. I'm just kidding. I don't mind driving in the dark at all. Where's the law enforcement testimony? Have not heard that yet, Rudy Patuti. Usually we get that early in the trial as they sort of lay out the groundwork and either work their way backwards or start at the beginning. And we have not heard that. We've heard a lot of interviews that have taken place with people, but we haven't had the police on the stand yet. Let's see. Thank you. We will. I think we'll enjoy the play. It should be a lot of fun. We have like backstage passes. It's really cool. What has he already been in jail for? Some weapons type charges. He had some explosives, and possibly it was related to this case even, because there was like an electrical union that he was blaming his daughter's disappearance on and saying they were to blame, and he was going to blow them up, and he had some explosives, like a whole bunch of explosives. And a lot of weaponry and things like that. So that was found during the search back in 2008. He was sentenced to 10 years. He served 7 and then was let out on that charge. And then he was rearrested on this murder charge, and he's been in custody since then. Lilybug, they have not answered all these questions other than that they found, I think a news company or someone was saying they heard that there was allegations of SA involved that made them say, hey, we believe he's involved in the disappearance. And that's sort of what kicked it off. Let's see. Anything else? Have fun. We'll drive safe. We sure will. This recording stuff keeps getting more weird. Wait till we see pictures. You know we're going to see pictures of like his studio. It's going to look like this, right? He's got his command center out in his tough shed in his backyard with all the cables running from the house where he can go out and lock the gate, lock the padlock, and sit there and monitor what's happening in and around his house. It sounds bizarre. It sounds weird. I almost, if I were a member of the jury, I know this question would not be allowed, but I'd almost want to ask all of these siblings. It's like, do you do that now? Do you think that's normal to do this level of recording, especially inside the house? Yeah, just crazy. It's weird. It's a little creepy is the right word, Ann. Creepy is the right word there. We also have it's been brought up several times, not just with the siblings, but with neighbors or friends, that there were these contracts he wanted people to sign. To say either something did happen or something didn't happen. Generally, I think they were related to SA and not having happened. But just like weird, just weird. Yeah, it's just crazy. If his command center looks anything like mine, I'd be like, kudos, but that's still creepy. My command center is colorful. It has these fun little things, you know.
Literally not true.
Okay, so it's a little bit creepy as well, but. Samantha says you're going to be late. No. We need to go here in just a couple minutes. I'll be okay. Totally creepy. 42 cables. I do have 42 cables making all this magic happen. And that's correct.
Is that correct?
Yep. Cows and zebras on yours. Yes, one zebra. It's way over here. It's hiding. There's a little Breezy sent me this one. This emotional support zebra. It's over here. And we have the cow right here. I'm thinking... You guys, I'm thinking about getting some merch with the cow on it. I might have to take a picture with a green screen and everything. I think this cash cow deserves to be on some RA merch. Do you have AC, Recovery Addict? The AC you see is right there. It's a big round fan that's on high, and that's why it's so loud in the background. Not yet. We're getting there, but it's cooler. It's cooler now. We have AC in the car. It will be a great drive. Homeschool Ground Zero asks, Recovery Addict, what do you do with all that stuff after live streams? Can I get a lawyer? Can I get some representation here? Because I'm afraid these questions might get me in trouble. I leave a mess in this room. It sort of has, I've taken over the room. It's very difficult for anyone else to walk in or out of it because there's cables and connectors and hardware everywhere. Let's see, I've got to listen to more of Sarah's pod to figure out why the bro I'm listening to now wasn't allowed to see them. It did sound, I'm not sure if this is a factor. I'm not sure if the dad was accepting of the brother's lifestyle choice. It sounded like he indicated at one point he had a boyfriend. I'm not sure if that was a reason for him, like excluding him from the family or separating them. How often do you nap in the new chair? As often as you guys will let me get away with it without sending signals to wake me up. That's it. I almost napped today. It was so close. There was a couple times. All right, that's going to be it for today. We're going to go ahead and pick this up tomorrow with the catch-up from tonight, or from this after lunch. Let's see, Matthew Harris, PLLC. I recommend him. I've heard he's a good lawyer. We also have Nicole, also a good lawyer, and several others who have some great legal experience. Let's see. I was about to hit this one. That's not him. Yeah, this one. There we go. That's the norm now in a lot of areas. Still creeps me out, but not normal back then. Right. He was doing it when it was weird. I mean, nowadays, my neighbor across the street, a wonderful older gentleman that has cameras on his house and sits next to his chair as he watches TV, and he can see all the cameras, and they look around, and you can see in the backyard, you can see his shed, you can see his garage, you can see out, anyone approaching in the driveway and everything. That's normal now. What Mr. Turney was doing was not normal. It was not normal at all. What time tomorrow? 9 a.m., Christy. 9 a.m. Unless, of course, the Sarah Boone letter drops, which, oh my goodness, a document just posted, but it's not the right one. I literally hit refresh and I got the notice of the hearing. That's the one that's going to happen on July 22nd for Sarah Boone. That's good, but we're still waiting for the correspondence document to post. So we've had, let's see, 7-11, 7-11, 7-11, 7-11. We've had three or four things post today. I'm excited. The letter's coming. We're getting a letter from Sarah Boone, you guys. Everyone gather around. We're going to read it together. So when that happens, we're going to go live with that, unless it happens during the play, which probably it will. I don't know. It's in Florida. It's 3 o'clock there. I'm not sure how much more work they're going to get today. Do turn on the notifications. Get notified when it goes live. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone. Make their day a little bit better. And please stay safe so we go live again in the morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to pick up with the rest of the Turney trial from today. We'll catch up maybe a little bit on high speed. It'll be fun. Thank you all. Have a great night. We'll see you guys. I'm out of here.